Chapter 48. Now these are the names of the tribes from the north end, beside the way of Hethlon to the entrance of Hamath, Hazar-Enan at the border of Damascus, northward beside Hamath, Dan, one portion, at the border of Dan, from the east side to the west side, Asher, one portion, at the border of Asher, from the east side even to the west side, Naphtali, one portion, at the border of Naphtali, from the east side to the west side, Manasseh, one portion, at the border of Manasseh, from the east side to the west side, Ephraim, one portion, at the border of Ephraim, from the east side even to the west side, Reuben, one portion, at the border of Reuben, from the east side to the west side, Judah, one portion, at the border of Judah, from the east side to the west side, shall be the offering which you shall offer, 25,000 reeds in width, and in length as one of the portions, from the east side to the west side, and the sanctuary shall be in the middle of it. The offering that you shall offer to Yahweh shall be 25,000 reeds in length, and 10,000 in width. For these, even for the priests, shall be the holy offering, toward the north 25,000 in length, and toward the west 10,000 in width, and toward the east 10,000 in width, and toward the south 25,000 in length, and the sanctuary of Yahweh shall be in the middle of it. It shall be for the priests who are sanctified of the sons of Zadok, who have kept my instruction, who didn't go astray when the children of Israel went astray, as the Levites went astray. It shall be to them an offering from the offering of the land, a most holy thing, by the border of the Levites. Alongside the border of the priests, the Levites shall have 25,000 cubits in length and 10,000 in width. All the length shall be 25,000, and the width 10,000. They shall sell none of it, nor exchange it, nor shall the first fruits of the land be alienated, for it is holy to Yahweh. The 5,000 cubits that are left in the width, in front of the 25,000, shall be for common use, for the city, for dwelling, and for pasture lands, and the city shall be in the middle of it. These shall be its measurements: the north side 4,500, and the south side 4,500, and on the east side 4,500, and the west side 4,500. The city shall have pasture lands, toward the north 250, and toward the south 250, and toward the east 250, and toward the west 250. The remainder of the length, alongside the holy offering, shall be 10,000 eastward and 10,000 westward, and it shall be alongside the holy offering. Its increase shall be for fruit to those who labor in the city. Those who labor in the city, out of all the tribes of Israel, shall cultivate it. All the offering shall be a square of 25,000 by 25,000. You shall offer it as a holy offering, with the possession of the city. The remainder shall be for the prince on the one side and on the other of the holy offering and of the possession of the city, in front of the 25,000 of the offering toward the east border, and westward in front of the 25,000 toward the west border, alongside the portions. It shall be for the prince. The holy offering and the sanctuary of the house shall be in the middle of it. Moreover, from the possession of the Levites, and from the possession of the city, being in the middle of that which is the prince's, between the border of Judah and the border of Benjamin, shall be for the prince. As for the rest of the tribes, from the east side to the west side, Benjamin, one portion. At the border of Benjamin, from the east side to the west side, Simon, one portion. At the border of Simon, from the east side to the west side, Issachar, one portion. At the border of Issachar, from the east side to the west side, Zebulun, one portion. At the border of Zebulun, from the east side to the west side, Gad, one portion. At the border of Gad, at the south side southward, the border shall be even from Tamar to the waters of Meribah Kadesh, to the brook, to the great sea. This is the land which you shall divide by lot to the tribes of Israel for inheritance, and these are their several portions, says the Lord Yahweh. These are the exits of the city, on the north side 4,500 reeds by measure. And the gates of the city shall be named after the tribes of Israel, 3 gates northward: the gate of Reuben, 1, the gate of Judah, 1, the gate of Levi, 1. At the east side 4,500 reeds, and 3 gates, even the gate of Joseph, 1, the gate of Benjamin, 1, the gate of Dan, 1. At the south side 4,500 reeds by measure, and 3 gates: the gate of Simon, 1, the gate of Issachar, 1, the gate of Zebulun, 1. At the west side 4,500 reeds, with their 3 gates: the gate of Gad, 1, the gate of Asher, 1, the gate of Naphtali, 1. It shall be 18,000 reeds in circumference, and the name of the city from that day shall be, Yahweh is there. The Book of Daniel with Greek portions. Chapter 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar king of Babylon came to Jerusalem and besieged it. The Lord gave Jehoiakim king of Judah into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God. And he carried them into the land of Shinar to the house of his God. He brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. The king spoke to Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring in some of the children of Israel, even of the royal offspring and of the nobles, youths in whom was no defect, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom, and endowed with knowledge and understanding science, and who had the ability to serve in the king's palace, and that he should teach them the learning and the language of the Chaldeans. The king appointed for them a daily portion of the king's delicacies, and of the wine which he drank, and that they should be nourished 3 years, that at its end they should serve the king. Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The prince of the eunuchs gave names to them. To Daniel he gave the name Belteshazzar, to Hananiah Shadrach, to Mishael Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego. And Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now God made Daniel find kindness and compassion in the sight of the prince of the eunuchs. The prince of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who has appointed your food and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse looking than the youths who are of your own age? Then you would endanger my head with the king. Then Daniel said to the steward whom the prince of the eunuchs had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Test your servants, I beg you, 10 days, and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our faces be examined before you, and the face of the youths who eat of the king's delicacies. And as you see, deal with your servants. So he listened to them in this matter, and tested them for 10 days. At the end of 10 days, their faces appeared fair, and they were fatter in flesh than all the youths who ate of the king's delicacies. So the steward took away their delicacies, and the wine that they would drink, and gave them vegetables. Now as for these 4 youths, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. At the end of the days which the king had appointed for bringing them in, the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. The king talked with them, and among them all was found no one like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore they served the king. In every matter of wisdom and understanding concerning which the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters who were in all his realm. Daniel continued serving even to the first year of King Cyrus.